There comes a moment in every kind-hearted person's life that hits like a punch to the gut. It's the realization that the very thing they thought made them good, being kind, selfless, always there for everyone, is the same thing that's made them feel invisible, taken for granted, and heartbreakingly alone. You've probably felt that. That sting when you realize your open heart has become a doormat, that your willingness to always show up hasn't made people love you more. It's made them expect you to be there, every time, for everything. And when you're not, you're suddenly the problem. But this isn't just some unlucky life lesson, it's deeper than that. It's wired into how humans operate, a kind of ancient mental software that still controls our modern lives. We evolved in tight-knit tribes where everything, status, resources, survival, mattered more than feelings. Our brains learned to size people up fast. Who's strong? Who's weak? Who do we rely on? Who can be ignored? And unfortunately, when you're the one constantly giving, constantly bending, constantly saying yes, your brain, and the brains of everyone around you, start reading those signals as weakness. It doesn't matter how good your intentions are. If you show up like a resource that's always available, never depleted, never asking for anything in return, you're sending a message. And that message is, I need you more than you need me. In our modern world, we dress this up as nobility. But at its core, our minds are still wired to rank that as low status. Now, here's where it gets painful. The more you try to earn people's respect by being kind, the less they respect you. That's the cruel loop most kind people fall into. You give more hoping it'll change things, but all it does is prove you'll keep giving, even when no one gives back. The result? A downward spiral. More kindness leads to less respect. Less respect makes you try even harder, until eventually, you're worn out, and still unappreciated. Meanwhile, the people who set boundaries, who say no sometimes, who aren't afraid to be unavailable, they get treated differently. Their time feels more valuable. Their help feels like a gift, not an obligation. And this triggers something powerful in the human brain. It lights up the reward system. We crave things that aren't guaranteed. When someone isn't always available, we want their attention more. When someone doesn't always say yes, their yes feels like a win. This isn't manipulation. It's biology. It's how we're built. 17th century philosopher Baltasar Gracián knew this long before brain scans confirmed it. In his book, The Art of Worldly Wisdom, he basically said, be great if you want, but don't show it all the time. Because once you make yourself fully visible, fully available, fully dependable, people stop being impressed. They start getting used to it. And what people get used to, they stop valuing. Gracián didn't tell people to be fake or mean. He understood that kindness is powerful, but only when it's measured, when it's used wisely, when it has boundaries. Otherwise, it becomes enabling. It teaches people to take without thinking, to expect without thanking, to drain without ever refilling. This becomes even clearer in the workplace. That person who always says yes, who never pushes back, who takes on every extra task, always smiling, never complaining. Most people would assume that person is a manager's dream, but they're not. They're the first to get overlooked, the last to get promoted, because they've accidentally trained everyone to see their extra effort as normal, expected, routine. And on the flip side, the coworker who says, I can't take that on right now, or I'd love to help, but I need more support, ends up being seen as more valuable. Not because they're better at their job, but because they treat their time and energy as valuable. And when they do help, it stands out. That's how respect works. It flows toward those who seem like they have options. People who act like they could walk away if things weren't right. People who don't make themselves too easy to get. And this isn't just in the workplace. It cuts even deeper in romantic relationships. Think about the person who's always available for their partner, always texting back instantly, always saying yes, always dropping their plans. On the surface, it looks like love, but under the hood, something darker is happening. That kind of complete availability doesn't spark passion, it suffocates it. When one person has no life outside the relationship, no boundaries, no individuality, they stop being a partner and start being a safety net. Attraction, real attraction, comes from mystery, tension, the The sense that the person you're with chooses you when they don't have to, that they could leave but don't, that they have their own world but want to share it. When someone gives up everything for someone else, it doesn't feel like romance. It feels like desperation. And that desperation is repellent, not because people are cruel, but because we're hardwired to be drawn to strength, independence, and perceived value. The healthiest, most passionate relationships aren't between people who are constantly entangled, always saying yes, always pleasing. They're built by people who can stand on their own, who challenge each other, who grow together because they're also growing individually. There's space, there's choice, there's mutual respect. That's what keeps the fire alive. Modern neuroscience backs this up too. Our brains are wired to chase what isn't always guaranteed, not in a toxic way, but in a motivational way. If something is scarce, it feels valuable. And when someone's attention isn't guaranteed, when their time is limited, when their kindness is given selectively, it triggers pursuit, focus, effort. Dopamine spikes not just when we receive it, but when we anticipate it. That's the core of what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement, the most effective psychological mechanism for creating strong attachment and lasting behavioral patterns. But here's the dark side, the part kind people don't want to hear. There are people who know this, who feel this, and they exploit it. Maybe not consciously, maybe not maliciously, but definitely intentionally. These people, manipulators, users, exploiters, they've developed a radar, a sensitivity to people who are too kind, too available, too willing. They know how to spot the people who say yes too quickly, who flinch at conflict, who apologize for things that aren't their fault. And once they find someone like that, they test. Small requests, innocent favors, then bigger ones, then emotional guilt. Until suddenly, you're doing everything, giving everything, saying yes to things that hurt you, all because you want to be a good person. And the scariest part, they'll weaponize your own identity against you. You're such a good friend. You're always there for me. You're the only one I can count on. Sounds like a compliment, but it's not. It's conditioning. It's a way to tie your self-worth to your self-sacrifice. That's how people become trapped. When being kind becomes who you are, your entire identity, it becomes unthinkable to say no. You're not just letting someone down. You're betraying yourself. Saying I can't help right now feels like saying I'm not a good person. That's identity fusion, when your sense of value is welded to always being helpful. And once that's locked in, people can take everything from you, your time, your peace, your energy, and you'll hand it over willingly. Because you've been taught that saying no is selfish, that boundaries are cold, that protecting yourself is wrong, but it's not wrong. In fact, it's the opposite. Here's the truth most people spend their whole lives avoiding. Real kindness isn't about being endlessly available. It's about being strong enough to choose when to give, how much to give, and to whom. True compassion isn't reactive, it's strategic. It's not driven by guilt or fear, it's grounded in self-respect. Strategic compassion starts with recognizing that your time, your energy, your attention, they're not infinite. They're not disposable. They're valuable. And just like anything valuable, they deserve protection. Saying no isn't rejection, it's prioritization. It's saying yes to your peace, your health, your goals. It's creating space to say yes to the right people, those who appreciate your presence, not just your usefulness. And once you make that shift from compulsive giving to conscious giving, the entire energy around you changes. The users, they fade away. They move on to someone else who hasn't figured this out yet. But the people who actually care, they stick around. They adjust. They grow to respect your boundaries. They stop seeing you as a tool and start seeing you as a person. Someone with value, someone with dignity. But the biggest shift happens inside you. You stop feeling resentful. You stop feeling drained. You stop carrying everyone else's weight while ignoring your own needs. You stop feeling like love is something you have to earn by being endlessly useful. And instead, you start to feel free. You stop being everyone's emergency contact, and you finally show up for your own emergencies. You stop being everyone's therapist, and you start healing your own pain. You stop being the go-to solution for everyone else's chaos, and you finally find peace in your own. This isn't selfishness. This is sustainability. Because the truth is, you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give what you don't have. You can't love others fully if you're constantly abandoning yourself. The people who command the deepest respect in this world, leaders, friends, mentors, creators, they all operate on one core principle. Respect is born from reciprocity, from balance, from boundaries. They give with open hands, but never at the cost of self. They help others, but they're not afraid to ask for help too. They're available, but they're not always available. And that's exactly why their presence is valued. Balanced relationships feel different. They're rooted in shared growth, shared energy, mutual appreciation. No one's overextending. No one's drowning silently. It's not about keeping score. It's about mutual care. And when that kind of balance becomes your standard, you stop accepting the lopsided, energy-sucking dynamics you used to settle for. But this shift doesn't happen all at once. It's gradual. You start by saying no once, then again. You resist the urge to over-explain. You let yourself disappoint someone. You sit with the discomfort. And then you realize you're still standing. The world didn't end. You didn't become a bad person. You became a person with standards, with boundaries, with respect for yourself. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to be loved by everyone, the right people start loving you for real. The moment you stop bending over backward to be accepted, you become magnetic. The moment your yes becomes rare, it becomes sacred, because people can feel when you're choosing them, not out of guilt, not out of habit, but out of genuine care. That's real love. That's real value. That's real presence. Every day you get to choose. Keep living in the old paradigm, where kindness means being walked on, love means losing yourself, and being good means being exhausted. Or step into the new one, where kindness has boundaries, love has space, and being good means being strong enough to protect your energy. This isn't about changing who you are. It's about protecting who you are. You don't need to become cold. You need to become conscious. You don't need to stop caring. You need to start caring smarter. Because in the end, the world doesn't need more people who burn themselves out trying to prove they're good. It needs more people who are good and strong, kind and discerning, loving and powerful. That's how you change your life. That's how you change the world. One strong, intentional boundary at a time. Comment unstoppable if you made it this far. And if you're ready to stop being everyone's solution and start becoming your own.